It's that time of year again where I rank all the animated movies I watched the previous year, from worst to best. You surely all know the drill by now. I've done 3 of these, and I try to up the quality of each one every time. Okay, let's get on with it. So, 2024, what was this year like? The quality was mostly consistent in terms of when films were released. Sometimes we'd get bangers after bangers, but for a long time this year, we actively got stuff that wasn't very good, especially at the beginning of the year. This was definitely not the year for American animation specifically. Hell, I could only name 4 movies that came from America that were released in theaters people actually arbitrarily loved. You know what they are, and we will know what they are when we get to them. So, what about everything else aside from American animation? That's what we're here to figure out, right? Which ones have I thought deserve to be recognized as good movies? And which ones deserve to rot? This year was hard to rank a lot of things. As I'm writing the video, my opinions will probably change from my initial ranking, because this year was convoluted for animation. But nonetheless, we'll get started. And this year, since people asked me to, I brought back cameos again. Yeah, there'll be a thing to make my ranking videos stand out for every year. Some new faces and ones from last year will pop up. So when you hear this sound, that means there's a cameo. We got 61 movies to rank this year, so let's get started. We'll start with the worst and go to the best. So, who's on the bottom this year? Trust me, it's not what you think it is.
What the fuck?
Wow, the bottom spot not being from Viva Kids? Who could have saw this coming? Though honestly, I really wouldn't be surprised if you were fooled by this being a movie from Viva Kids, since it looks worse than your average film from them. I've expressed my disdain for that studio enough, but don't worry, I promise there's plenty of time for me to rag on that studio more later on in the video. For now, we have to talk about Gracie and Pedro, Pets to the Rescue. My god, how could this movie manage to have so many plots wrapped into one, and then all of them end up tasteless and predictable? It being predictable is the least of its problems, though. The movie is about how these 2 pets who can't stand each other, named Gracie and Pedro, one day have to work together and migrate to their new home because they got lost in airport luggage and must find their way home. I saw the trailer for this in the theater, and I thought it looked like the biggest pile of dog shit that you knew I was gonna see anyway. And after watching it, I can safely say that it is the worst movie I've watched all fucking year. First of all, none of the characters at all are likable. Not a single fucking one. I did not care what happened to any of these characters because of how unlikable all of them are. Seriously, Inspector Sun is quaking in his boots right now. Though, if you were to have my opinion, I think Inspector Sun is worse. Anyway, there's this one scene where the family who lost their pets complain to the airport staff, and they are just total bitches about it. At that point, the film's fate was sealed for me. Look, I get it, you lost your pets, and have every right to be frustrated with it, but it does not give you the right to act like entitled dipshits to everyone else. It's not funny, it's just sad. What sealed the movie's fate even more, however, was how they couldn't do deaf representation right at all. They show the kid who's supposedly deaf using sign language, but he's able to hear in a good amount of scenes. If Under the Boardwalk can get it right, then so can they. The characters don't even use sign language toward him to convey to the audience that he's deaf. What's the fucking point of doing this type of representation if you're going to intentionally fuck it up by having the characters speak to him to have him respond naturally? Again, Under the Boardwalk managed to get this right. And so did A Silent Voice, which is one of the best anime movies ever made that's not based off a pre-existing anime. And even then, it's still among the best ones in general. However, that's not even the worst of it. The worst of it is when you realize the entire fucking story was pointless to begin with. The movie establishes at the very beginning that both Gracie and Pedro hate each other and will do anything to to make the life of the other an inconvenience. Fine! We've seen mean characters and relationships like this in media, so what makes this one different? I'll tell you what! Sometime before the climax, both Gracie and Pedro are like, "Oh, I thought you hated me this whole time, you didn't?" Completely destroys everything this film set up. There's no real development, it's just the plot forcing itself to work. And I'm using work very loosely here, because the story is not cohesive. And I saw every single joke coming from a mile away. Nothing about this movie is creative. Except for maybe the twist at the end where the evil ferret was actually trying to help the two get home instead of antagonizing them the entire movie. Oh, and I neglected to mention the animation, because it is some of the shittiest looking animation I've seen in a feature film. Anytime the main characters would run, it looked like a PowerPoint presentation more than anything else. Worse than Blue Lock Season 2's animation. Oh, also worth noting, the movie is titled Gracie and Pedro Pets to the Rescue, but the pets aren't rescuing anybody! If you want a more accurate title, it would be Gracie and Pedro Get Lost. This film was so fucking bad. Please don't go out of your way to watch it. Please! You're saving so much time doing so, and I only did it to fill a quota. And I like giving every animated movie somewhat of a chance. With this movie, I lost my mind at how bad it is. But at the very least, I can say it's not worse than Inspector Sun. That's something, right?
Turn down for what?
Hello again, old friend. That's right. We get to talk about Viva Kids some more, because clearly, from the last ranking, there wasn't enough rage. They released a total of 6 movies this year, and we will get to all of them. So if more rage and agony is what you came to see, congratulations! You're getting your wish! This is because Jungle Bunch Operation Meltdown is a complete dumpster fire, as well as obnoxious. And one of the worst sequels to ever exist. Yes, you heard me. Sequel. A sequel to The Jungle Bunch. The original movie isn't even that good, and I only watched it for the first time in preparation for this one. The Jungle Bunch is a series from France, I think, and it's France's answer to Paw Patrol, I guess. But the Paw Patrol movies, for some reason, have real effort put into them despite it not being needed. Both of these movies are mush. Simply put, they are awful, they are dull, they are boring, they offer nothing new to the table. The animation looks garbage! Just look at this thing! It looks extremely dated and doesn't fit on the big screen. The first Toy Story looks better than this, for fuck's sake. This movie is about how there's poisonous gas on the island that this film takes place on, and they have to stop an evil villain from doing so. Ugh. The Jungle Bunch set out on a mission to find the culprit and save the day. Yeah, that's the plot of the movie. Harmless, right? Well, yeah, but they filmed the fucking movie with a bunch of piss and shit jokes to pad out the runtime. Have some goddamn class! This movie is fucking boring. The adventure isn't exciting. I don't care what happens to these characters, because I barely know anything about them. There's no character development, and the closest thing we have to that are these frogs who shove it down your throats that they are the apprentices to the Jungle Bunch, which becomes pointless by the end, because they suddenly decide, "Oh, I don't want to be a part of the Jungle Bunch anymore!" There is no point in watching this movie. If fucking Paw Patrol can get all of what I described right in both of their movies, then this has no excuse. By the time you get to the climax, you just don't care. The climax is also boring to watch. And again, you just don't care about anything happening. I don't even want to talk about this shit anymore. Just please don't make a third one. I'm begging you. I don't think I can take it. But if there's anything nice at all, I have to say the bit with the drawings at the beginning was fine. But again, nothing worth watching.
Yes, yes, everyone. Doom, 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 and doom. Jinx, you owe me 3.
Bet you're shocked to not see this at the very bottom. As of writing this, my DreamWorks ranking video isn't out yet. But when it does come out, I will be gushing about the first Megamind. Which, spoiler for that video, it's within the top 10. What could really be said that hasn't already been said by many people? We could talk about how dull and lifeless it is, how this completely destroyed Megamind's character. There's many things to talk about and take the piss out of. They continue the story 2 days after Megamind became the hero of Metro City, where he's now reformed as a villain, which, may I remind you, is the point of the original story. I say this because in the movie, Megamind fires Minion... Oh, sorry? Who's Minion? I mean, All Chum! Why did you guys change his name? It was perfectly fine! What, did the Despicable Me franchise give you nightmares, or was Illumination holding you at gunpoint to not make his name Minion, or else there would be a lawsuit? They don't own the right to the word Minion. Oh wait, I forgot. Both DreamWorks and Illumination work under the same umbrella, so there really is no excuse to begin with! Anyways, after screaming off the top of my lungs again and probably damaging my vocal cords. Now, where were we? Oh, right. I was talking about the point of the original story. So, as I was saying, Megamind fires Old Chum because he wouldn't accept his job, even though all he wanted was a raise and a promotion to be Megamind's sidekick, to which Megamind denies him. He doesn't give any real reason for this other than, I guess, to move the plot along, so now he's working in a donut shop until the climax. So what is this movie actually about, you ask? The Doom Syndicate, Megamind's old villain crew, breaks out of jail, but doesn't know Megamind is actually a hero now. Back when Megamind was a villain, he instructed them to lay low in jail until he gives the signal, even though the original plan was just to abandon them there when Megamind realized he wanted all the spotlight. He then now has to put on an act instead of just being honest with them, and Megamind basically creates all these problems for himself, which everything in this quote-unquote movie is pretty much Megamind's fault. The Doom Syndicate are boring and uninteresting villains. They all have flat personalities that all rely on just one gimmick and that gimmick alone. Notice how I haven't mentioned Roxanne Ritchie, whose whole role is to just act as support for Megamind and calls him out on his actions, and also pretends to be his evil wife in front of the Doom Syndicate. You know, the whole city loves Megamind at this point in the movie. All he had to do was tell the police, hey, they escaped, and then a lot of the problems wouldn't have happened in this movie. Or he could just stop them himself. He has all these gadgets. There's so many ways to go about this, but the writer's room clearly didn't rewatch the original film, because we have to watch Megamind pretend to be evil in front of them, instead of doing any other thing that's logical. I mean, we see him stop some crooks who try to steal a fish at the beginning of the movie. What the Doom Syndicate wants is to put Metro City onto the moon. That's it. Oh, and also, there's this social media girl who's president of the Megamind fan club. She doesn't do much except be a plot device that just advances the plot. I don't like her. She's not one of the most obnoxious characters in existence, but she was still annoying, to be honest. Luckily, she was the least important character here aside from the mayor, who's annoyingly incompetent at his job. Film acknowledges this, and Roxanne becomes the mayor at the end of the movie. Well, I talked about pretty much everything this movie has, except for it has the audacity to put a post-credit scene in which a villain eviler than anyone comes in and says he'll take down Megamind as if there's going to be a new movie. I don't know if he appears in the TV show, and quite frankly, I don't care. Now, DreamWorks, I know you said you'd be down to make a theatrical sequel. Just get the original cast and crew, and make a real sequel, and not a bullshit one. Thanks.
This is the most obnoxious thing I've ever experienced in my life.
This is the most mind-numbing shit I've ever watched. Captain Avispa made me lose brain cells while watching, and it's probably because of the shit voice acting. The movie centers on Captain Avispa, who's a superhero who gets his superpowers by telling the truth. And when he lies, it drains his power. This could make for something interesting, but the movie hardly does anything with that. Other than that, you're left with a boring film about a world of bees that also isn't interesting. I had more fun watching the Bee Movie than this. You also have a plot that's a confusing mess, and it's not really clear what the villains actually want here, and why they're a threat, other than they want to take over the world. It's clear the voice actors didn't give a shit about this movie, since they sound so tired working on it, and I don't blame them at all. They're just clearly doing this for a paycheck and they're moving on with their lives. I don't know why this was even considered for an Oscar nomination. Like, it didn't get nominated, but I saw the list of contenders that could get nominated, and it's on there for some reason. I don't know why. But just don't watch it. It's not worth your time. This is also a musical for some reason, but I couldn't tell you a single song in this movie, because I actively forgot this was a musical.
I'm running on like a rolling stone. Sing song when I'm walking home, jump up.
Every possible wrong decision that was made during the production of Harold and the Purple Crayon was made. Enough said. But you're here for a reason, so I'll tell you the plot first. The film follows Harold, who he and his friends get sucked into the real world where Harold has to find his old man. All the jokes are exactly what you expect for a film like this, and the setups are all the same. Not once did I laugh during this movie, because Harold himself is annoying, and the animal friends only have one joke where they try to do their animal stuff, but they can't because they're humans. There's also an evil librarian who wants Harold's crayon to make his fictional world real. He also wants to get with the mom of the kid, and to me, the kid was really the only somewhat tolerable character in the movie. Also, despite being a creep, the villain gets rewarded at the end, and Harold just does the thing he wanted all along, which was infuriating, honestly. Like, good God, this man is an idiot. Every single joke and punchline is predictable, and it's a movie not worth your time. Though the 2D segments were cool, I suppose.
It's a cautionary tale of fear and lust and pride.
Viva Kids almost made another tolerable movie with epic tales, but that's not saying much, is it? At the end of it, I didn't like it, because it just kept dragging and dragging. It felt like a chore sitting through it. The voice acting also wasn't good, and the 2D animation at the beginning was just fine. At first, my feelings were complicated while watching it. We follow a rat named Patty, who always looks for an adventure, but her dad is overprotective and doesn't approve. So, the plot then turns into her getting lost and the dad has to find her, when before the other plot that it tries to squeeze in, there is a god that is angry at the city because a statue wasn't built for them, so he'll flood the city if the statue isn't built. And honestly, this really only affects the humans in the movie who aren't important. The movie doesn't really give you a reason to care about any of this. Like, maybe the rats will be in danger, but boo-hoo, they're fucking rats. Anyway, look, it just has way too many ideas and wants to do them all, and it does them all right. Very hastily. This didn't infuriate me like most Viva Kids movies do, but honestly, this really isn't worth your time for how boring the movie ends up being. I, for the life of me, cannot stand Woody Woodpecker. I never liked this guy and find him aggravating, so imagine my shock when Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp annoyed me. To be real, it's a harmless movie, but it's packed so much into it for some reason. My faith was lost when the movie opened with the MLG horn sound effect, and then every joke from there, or at least almost every joke, got a groan out of me. It's unfunny, but at least it held my attention the whole way through somehow. Not because I give a shit, but because the movie itself wasn't boring. I'll say this, though, that there's 3 plots, and they are meshed together well enough. The problem is, I forget about 2 when 1 is on screen, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was a storyline that exists. The plots are Woody Woodpecker trying to go back home after getting kicked out, so he has to learn to work together in a team while at camp. The camp and the rival camp have some rivalry and hate for each other, so they compete in games to see who's better. And there's also an inspector who wants to shut down the camp Woody attends due to multiple infractions. Maybe it's because I'm not a Woody Woodpecker fan, which is why I didn't like this movie, but the humor just really killed it for me overall. And the characters aren't even that interesting to me, so let's move on. Another sequel from Viva Kids no one wanted. 200% Wolf is pretty bad. Improvement over the first? Sure. It didn't give 200% less effort, but I also just don't care about anything going on. This time, Freddy is part of the pack again and wishes he can be a werewolf. His friends find a moon spirit, and Freddy goes to the village to meet this old lady who befriends him. But, oh no! She hates wolves and turns out to be evil! The first 10 minutes are like, whatever. But we spend way too much time in this village. It's where the movie centers on the most, and there's nothing fun going on to watch. Freddy just wants to be respected more, which wasn't that the goal of the first movie. It's very much a here we go again sequel, and one that really didn't need to exist. It's also not really established why the old lady hates wolves, she just does. I don't want a 300% wolf, and I just rolled my eyes a lot throughout this film. I watched 100% wolf for the first time in preparation for this, and I knew it was a bad movie going in, because I remember everyone in 2020 throwing tomatoes at this film, so I knew what I was getting into with this one, and yet, I still watched it anyway for this video. The shit I'm willing to do for you guys. My opinion on Ghost Cat and Zoo is very different compared to literally everyone, it seems. I didn't get into it. I found it pretty boring, to be honest. It's weird because I really enjoy slice-of-life anime stuff, but this one just didn't win me over. Because, well, this is a movie. It tries to do what slice-of-life anime do, but the reason they work is because their episodes were in 20 minutes. And yes, there are plenty of anime movies that are slice-of-life, but they have a clear end goal and story. This has none of those. I see potential for a story, but there just isn't one. Or maybe there is and I'm just not seeing it. There are ideas for what the film's plot is, but they get dropped with no rhyme or reason and randomly come back at the end of the movie for no reason because you just forget. Though I will admit the third act chase scene was entertaining, but that really isn't much. I also like the beginning and wish they stuck with that route. The characters are forgettable. Anzu annoyed me for most of the movie. I'd go as far as to say I was bored watching these characters because nothing interesting happens in this film, aside from the two things I mentioned. In the beginning, the main girl's father is a scumbag, but he comes back at the end a changed man. Okay, let us see the development then. There is no character development in this movie at all. I know a lot of people like Ghost Cat Anzu, but I just don't see it. If there's something I'm missing from this film, please do let me know, because there's not much to talk about, and I almost fell asleep watching it.
Hey, Patrick, what am I now?
Stupid?
No, I'm...
Why does every Spongebob movie go for the Save Bikini Bottom plot except for the one where they go to Atlantis? It was really good in the first two, but this and the recent Plankton movie both go for that same plot. Kind of. This one is definitely the worst Spongebob movie without a doubt, and I don't think I need to say why, because the internet has already said enough. It's a dull and boring adventure with unfunny jokes, and people have described this as the worst thing to come from SpongeBob, and I don't blame them. The plot is that a company steals Bikini Bottom from the ocean, and Sandy and SpongeBob have to go to save the town from being turned into marketable sea pals, because its CEO always wanted to pet sea animals. Yes, it's as dumb as it sounds. This movie completely mischaracterizes what SpongeBob is. It feels like it was done for a paycheck and nothing else.
I always wanted a brother. I always wanted a brother. I
don't know about you guys, but I don't think this was the #1 movie in America when this came out. Something tells me a blue hedgehog kicked its ass at the box office. And I can't put my quite finger on why I believe that, but let's think about that later. Mufasa is a prequel to the Lion King quote-unquote live-action remake of the animated Lion King movie. This movie shows the backstory of how Mufasa became king and how Taka became Scar. Mufasa is separated from his parents after a flood and meets with Scar's family, named Taka here. Scar's dad doesn't like Mufasa for some reason and has him get raised by the females of his tribe. It's Diet Transformers 1. In the beginning, Simba gives some speech, Nala is implied to be dead, we meet Simba's daughter, and the story is being told through Rafiki. Timon and Pumbaa are also there to be annoying, and we randomly cut back to them. They are just shoehorned in, and it's distracting when they appear in the film, though it's the movie's framing device. It's hard to tell what's going on sometimes, but not like I care. I felt lifeless and nothing watching this on the big screen. A lot of the animals look the same, especially the lions, and the expressions, again, are all samey. It's really just lifeless in general, and I can't get mad at it, because I feel nothing watching it. It also doesn't help that all the characters have similar accents on top of looking similar, so then it really makes things more confusing. I couldn't take the film seriously at all when you have moments like the main villain's song's main lyric is, "I'll make you go bye-bye," and Mufasa not banishing Scar after he joined the villain and instead just naming him Scar and saying he can stay despite being told to banish him by Zazu. I bet after Scar was punished and got named Scar, he was thinking, "Okay, Mufasa, kill you later." The villain just wants to avenge his dead son, which is why he wants Mufasa and Scar dead. Also, Scar always wanted a brother and has his chance with Mufasa. I will admit the soundtrack to this movie is amazing. It's done by Lin-Manuel Miranda, so that isn't shocking. It's better than Moana II's soundtrack. But I also have a problem with the songs. They are too spaced out, and it's a problem because it makes me forget that this is a musical. Are they the best songs Disney has written? No. Be Prepared, Just Can't Wait to Be King, and Hakuna Matata are all much better songs. From the OG film, I mean. I will never forgive what the remake did to Be Prepared. You can skip this film. You're not missing much if you do. I can't even call it disappointing because you knew it was going to be bad, and I got what I expected. But I didn't think I'd feel absolutely nothing watching it. Like, why include Timon and Pumbaa in the advertising and then only have them show up to ask when they'll be in the story Rafiki is telling, which is the story of how Mufasa became king? Just don't bother with this one. That is all. At the very least, I appreciate what Spellbound is trying to do. You don't usually see animated movies tackling divorce, now do you? But they do it in an insensitive and unlikable way. Like, for example, they make the parents monsters because of a curse. They should have all just been humans, honestly, instead of an allegory, because here, it's just not done right. This is also a musical, but the songs are forgettable and go on for way too long. They just put the story to a halt. If I can give Spellbound credit for anything, I like the animation and character designs, which stops me from completely hating this film, but I didn't like it and think everything could have been done better. I don't know what I expected from the team behind Luck, so the bar was already not high, but I also understand the film suffered several delays and turned out like this, so I'll give it some leeway. Other than that, you're not missing much from this movie. If you want a cartoon that handles divorce better, just go watch Big City Greens, which we'll be talking about later on in the list. A movie about talent agency and exploitation, Thelma the Unicorn follows Thelma, a donkey who is mistaken for a unicorn and goes viral online. She performs in shows and quickly rivals fame between other popular animals. I don't remember much about this movie, but it was mid. It's harmless, but it's also just kinda generic. I appreciate it's trying to call out talent agencies, but I watched a much better movie that did it way better than this, and it will be talked about later on. I really don't have much to say about this one. Everything you think happens in this movie happens, and there's nothing new added to it at all.
Every day here is my favorite dia. One big house in our family store. Food and laughter y mucho.
The Casa Grandes didn't need a movie, and we got a mediocre one anyway. For a movie with that title in the beginning, it doesn't even focus on the Casa Grandes, and a majority of them get sidelined anyway until the big climax because we gotta focus on Ronnie Ann and her issues with her mom, until that gets sidelined for a plot about Ronnie Ann having a crystal and getting manipulated by another teenager who was part of this prophecy, and yeah, you see the problem. I didn't have much to say about it in my review for it, and that hasn't changed here, so just go check out that if you want the full scoop. Look, the best way to describe The Concierge is it's painfully mid. This did not need to be in theaters and could have easily been a mini-series, especially with its really short runtime, or just an entirely new series. I understand this is based on the manga, but I think that going the anime original route with this would have been better. Akino wants to be a concierge of a prestigious mall and wants to do a good job. She wants nothing more than to please her customers because her boss is watching her 24/7, which the boss is one of the only amusing parts of this movie. There's a lot of trial and error, but at the end of the day, there's not really a story or narrative we follow. The characters also aren't anything spectacular. In fact, I had to look up the main character's name for this segment. The closest thing we have to a story is her trying to please customers, and they aren't allowed to say no to the customer no matter what demand they have. The customers are also animals, and it's not really fleshed out here. There's this one scene where the concierge has to say no because they were out of a dress another customer wanted, and another concierge went to take care of it, because the main character is a pussy and got nervous. So the customer gets mad and they fire her. A scene later, she gets her job back, and they desperately try getting you to cry during the ending. Like, what am I supposed to feel here? There's not a meaningful journey. There's not an arc the main character has to go through aside from being a good employee. This entire movie would have worked so much better as a miniseries, with 20-minute stories about her helping customers, because it genuinely feels like a TV show above all else. The animation is good. It looks like an old anime, and that's pretty cool. But how did Look Back tell its story in a shorter runtime? And somehow it is more meaningful and impactful than this movie. Every frame of Look Back is better than The Concierge. I'm not asking for the store to get abducted by aliens or for it to explode. Just give me a narrative I can follow in movie form. Unlike Ghost Cat Anzu, I can at least say that there was an end goal for the main character. But at the end of the day, The Concierge was just a side story compilation thrown together to make a movie.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter.
Y'all hated on this movie way too much, man. Look, this isn't me saying the Ryan's World movie is a masterpiece or anything. It's far from it, and I wouldn't have watched it if I didn't need to fill a quota for every year. We follow Ryan, who has trouble with his sisters, who he claims ruin everything, until he and them get sucked into a comic book world, where he has to save them from Dark Titan. It's not horrible by any means, but it's just okay. It certainly has a better story than every movie I've mentioned on the list thus far. The villain was just lame, though. He works at the comic book store that Ryan gets stuck into, and you know he's the bad guy by his first scene, but they build him up as the big bad, and it's just like there's not really any stakes. He's evil because his sister got addicted to Ryan's World videos. That being said, I'm being soft on it, because this is a movie about Ryan's World after all. I knew I wasn't going to get high art out of the film, and that's okay. But if your movie is worse than this one, then there are some serious problems with the way you write movies.
So a couple months ago, Liam got in contact with me and asked me if I would like to talk about a certain animated movie from last year, and it came with an overwhelming sure. And when he first asked me, he was like, hey, it's your picking. And I was like, maybe I should do Transformers 1 because that was my favorite movie of last year. But then I knew exactly what you guys wanted me to talk about again. This lie. But thankfully, recently, I did rewatch the entire movie again because I plan on doing another video on it, so you're probably wondering, after a second viewing, is it better, worse, and is it still really goddamn bad? I mean, y'all know the answer to that last one, but I will say it is only slightly but barely better, but a lot worse than I remember. Slightly better because, well, I didn't have to watch it in a theater this time, but slightly worse because if you saw my review of that movie, you'll know that the one positive I had was on the villain known as the Big Bad. Wow, ain't that fucking creative. But my positive was because he only wanted to play with his little sister, so I just felt bad for him. And I kept saying, oh, Ryan was screwing that up. But then after rewatching it, I swear I did not catch this the first time, because the first time I was just done with this movie because I'm like, this is horrible. Why am I sitting in a theater watching this? But I didn't realize that the Big Bad just wanted to straight up murder Ryan and all of his friends. Oops. So, yeah, Big Bad, you suck. Go to hell, man. That's horrible. Like, I don't like Ryan either, but I don't want him to die. Fuck. And then on top of that, on the second viewing, I noticed that the two little girls were looking at the camera a few times when they were doing the live action bits. But yeah, I guess now, because of that whole thing with the Big Bad, I will now finally give this movie the F it deserves. I would like to thank Liam once again for giving me the chance to cameo in his video, and if you'd like to see any of my stuff, go over to Trev's Movies right now, do subscribe, there's movie reviews, stuff on TV, watching and talk-ins, which is where I give my commentary and talk, like, in depth about a movie and whatnot, and if you do go over there, avoid this video, not very fond of it anymore, and it's not a good introduction video.
Scary Girl is the most visually interesting Viva Kids movie. That being said, it's still just okay. The story is about Archie, who has to save her father from a dangerous scientist in a world shrouded in darkness, and prevent her plan's destruction, and she has to overcome her fears to travel to a mysterious city of light. Which, by the way, I took that off Google because I barely remember the story to this one. And it's probably because I remember it being generic at the very least. Visually good animation though, but not interesting characters. Also, Archie's friend lies and puts her in danger. Climax was alright. That should be enough information for this movie for you.
Held me down, but I got up, already brushing off the dust.
I'm willing to bet that a lot of you forgot that this even came out, or have just never heard of it. It was kind of just dumped on Paramount Plus, and I forgot about it until I looked at my ranking list. I love the animation of the movie. The style is definitely unique enough to set it apart from other animated movies. At least to me. It's an okay movie. I don't remember much about it, I'm not gonna lie. And that's probably because it's just really fast-paced. I remember checking the runtime and I was like, oh? We're at the climax already? The action was fun to watch, but the story was lackluster and forgettable. I probably should rewatch it someday and see if I feel the same way toward it. The new Gundam movie had some pretty as hell animation. I'll give credit there. I was really confused with its story because it felt like there were just character arcs instead of an actual story on top of it. Even then, the cast felt bloated because of how many villains there were in the movie. The animation and characters definitely carried this one. This was the first time I watched something Gundam related, and I will admit Gundam fans probably will love it more than I did. Because it felt like for every one thing it got right, it got another wrong. The climax also dragged out a lot despite the good animation. It just got a little too long for me was all. I don't know if that's just how Gundam is or not, but still. If is a movie starring Ryan Reynolds trying to save imaginary friends, which is what If stands for. He teams up with a young girl named Bee to reunite imaginary friends with their kids before they become completely forgotten. This movie sure did come and go, huh? It wasn't very funny or emotional, and I just wanted more of what I actually got. The imaginary friends are well designed, but this movie, again, just isn't funny. It's honestly forgettable and just okay. It's got a clear emotional core, but they shouldn't have advertised this as a comedy. The trailers made it seem more fun than it actually is. A lot of wasted potential, to be honest. Feels like there's more serious moments in the movie, and it's weird because I expected a laugh fest beginning to end. It's a Ryan Reynolds movie, for God's sake, and he's hilarious. How do you not make him funny? And I don't want to hear that this is a kids movie, because there's plenty of funny kids movies that exist. So yeah, that's If. Again, not much I have to say here, but if you must watch it, go ahead. I won't stop you. But I forgot this movie existed months after I saw it, and I remember being excited to watch this one.
I'm having a bad day. It's about time that I get
My opinion has definitely changed on Despicable Me 4, the more I thought about it after making that review. I still believe it's a brainless comedy with such a scattershot story, which this is Illumination. Say what you will about their films, but all of them had a story you could follow regardless of how simple it was. This is scattershot to the core, and it was a bad idea to include so many subplots and juggle them all. Subplots are fine in movies normally. It's normal for there to be a side story or two that connects to the overall main story. But this doesn't connect to anything, and the entire time I'm like, oh yeah, that plot point exists. Oh, there's a new story now? It's too much to handle, and no other Illumination film has done this. Admittedly, I did think some parts were funny. It has its moments of comedy. The minions don't even show up that much in this, and the film made it seem more fun than it actually is in the trailer. At least Will Ferrell villain was fine, but I prefer the other villains in the franchise. So, what happens in this thing then? Gru has a baby, Gru's high school rival breaks out of jail and wants revenge on Gru, family goes under witness protection, yeah, that's the main gist of the film. This idea could have been executed a lot better, but it's Despicable Me. It'll make movie no matter the quality, cause minions, who barely even show up in the film, by the way, as I said before. Either way, it's Despicable Me 4. The comedy is fine, but the movie experience wasn't pleasant. And like I said, this franchise has run out of steam. I know the director went on to say they wouldn't mind a 5th one, but I certainly do. Also, Minions 3 is coming out next year. Yay! If you want more thoughts on this, just go to my review. The ones I've already done separate reviews on will get less time here, just because I had already talked about them before.
Wow, Despicable Me 4. What can you say about this movie? Really not a whole lot. It was very boring. Now, I'm not exactly a Minion hater. I quite like the Minions, actually. I think Despicable Me 1 is a pretty good movie with a good story and a good message at the end. I think 2 is a pretty okay sequel, not as good as the original. 3 is kind of boring and felt like a waste of time, but I didn't think it was bad. And then Minions 1 and 2 were kind of just okay and felt like turn your brain off and laugh at the funny little peanuts running around. Now, I'm not exactly looking for Schindler's List level political commentary from one of these movies, but I'm looking for something that's at least entertaining to watch. The ending where they all sang together, that felt pretty good as a fan of the series since I was like, 10? The villain, I don't remember his name, but he was kind of the worst villain we've gotten from any of these movies. He was like a cockroach, and yeah, honestly, he was just a cockroach, and he was mad that Gru was better. I don't really know. He didn't really have a good motive. Overall, Despicable Me 4 wasn't very good, and I would give it like a 4 out of 10.
The animation was good for the new Lord of the Rings movie. The action too, but the story was hard to follow. Sorry, this is another one I just don't have much to say about. So we're gonna move on.
Get up and get on your feet. It's time to live your own story, even if you...
Moana 2 was the definition of okay. The fact that this was supposed to be a TV show is very obvious, and it should have stayed a TV show. At the very least, the plot is still connected and it tells one narrative, but the entire movie could be summed up like this. We start on an island for 20 minutes where Moana lives. Oh no, God's separated island and Maui is trying to fix it. Moana, I gotta get a crew. Grabs inhabitants on island. We're on the ocean for a majority of the time. Oh no, the coconut people! Wait, they're my friends now. Oh no, we're gonna get eaten by a land monster. Yay, we're at the destination we're supposed to be at, finds Maui. Maui, oh, I'm important to the plot now. They find out they're in a life or death situation from a storm after getting stranded somewhere unspecified. Yay, we saved the day. Yay, we're back home. Also, Moana dies at some point during the movie. Yeah. Also, I neglected to mention the side characters because they don't do anything important. I don't even remember their names because they're reduced to gimmicks and not actual characters. If I'm being completely honest, I did enjoy the first 20 minutes of the movie and thought it reintroduced the world well. That's when I thought, hey, maybe this won't be so bad. But then it kept going, and the quality kept dropping. The build-up to the god, Nalo, was not very good, and it just ended up being a storm. There is a credit scene with him, though, and it sounds like he'll be important for a Moana 3, which if they do, I hope they flesh him out more, because I do see some potential there. And maybe Tamatoa could be important to the plot this time, too. The ocean isn't even a character here, like they are in the first movie. I went more in depth on that in my review, so if you're interested, go check that out. Viva Kids finally did it, everyone! They made a lower B, high C tier movie. I knew they could do it. Yeah, we're finally reaching the good movies on this list. Or at least the stuff I consider decent and above. Yeah, Viva Kids finally won me over with a movie I found to be decent in the form of Dragon Keeper. We follow a girl who wants to save a bunch of dragons from going extinct. She's also enslaved. I was surprised at how invested I got in the story and kept thinking to myself, wow, I'm enjoying a Viva Kids movie? Yeah, nothing infuriated me to death or bored me to death like Viva Kids usually does. My only issues with it were I didn't like the animation in some areas, and they Deus Ex Machina the plot enough for the movie to be hindered, in my opinion. I give it a pass, though, because it's not egregious like it is with most Viva Kids movies. Cough, cough, Inspector Son. So yeah, good job, I guess. Dragon Keeper wasn't the only win for Viva Kids in 2024, because I also enjoyed Hit Pig. A pig who's a hitman has the job of bringing an elephant back to its abusive owner. And then once he realizes this, the two of them form a bond, and yeah, you know how this goes. The voice acting was good, and the story was a fun time. The movie didn't bore me at all, and again, I was enjoying myself throughout the runtime. Now, this isn't me glazing Viva Kids. I will always have low expectations for their movies, because of how much I'm used to them putting out slop. So until they start pumping out good movies at a consistent rate, you won't catch me praising them as a studio anytime soon. Hit Pig was a fun watch, though. There wasn't anything too bad about it.
Leave all overcoats, canes, and top hats with the doorman. From that moment, you'll be...
Honestly, the more I thought about Kung Fu Panda 4, the more I started kinda disliking it. Not to say it's a bad movie, but the first three are just so good they can't be topped. I do believe it wasn't a necessary movie, regardless of what I thought of it, but I still liked it enough for it to be considered good at the very least. This time we follow Po and a new fox named Zen. Po is now on the path to becoming spiritual leader of the Valley of Peace, giving up his title as the Dragon Warrior. The Furious Five are barely in this one, which really sucks, because I would have preferred them go on the journey. Maybe because it would be too similar to Kung Fu Panda 2 is why they didn't do it? I don't know. But they have to face a new villain named the Chameleon who wants to steal powers of previous Kung Fu Panda masters. Wait, what? Kung Fu Panda masters? Fuck! Okay, Kung Fu Masters. And she's honestly the worst villain across all the movies. My review says more, but this is kinda where I stand now with Kung Fu Panda 4.
Things I see are the reality.
The Bunny Girl franchise had 2 movies this year, with different degrees of quality. Rascal Does Not Dream of a Sister Venturing Out is a movie centered around Kaede, wanting to get into the same school Sakura did after he and Mai graduate from high school. Yeah, that's honestly kind of the whole movie. The stuff shown in the movie was good, but it just felt like a lot of build-up to the next movie. And honestly, both movies could have been an OVA or a mini-season with 4 episodes. They could have split this up and not have it be in one movie. I know it sounds like I'm giving this a bit too much flack, but I really did enjoy watching it. It's just this really didn't need to be a movie, and that's all. The Great Pretender Razbulito was a good movie. To be honest, I don't have much to say about it. The visuals are fun, the characters are likable, and I like the story. It's just a fun film. And I like that it has a bunch of con artists having a pissing contest. Not literally, but I digress. That's honestly all I have to say about it. Moving on.
Come along with me.
First of all, props to Soko in the Kingdom of Winds. I think I said that correctly. For having really good animation. However, my main problem with it is that it felt like 2 different movies with different pacing. Basically, the sisters get taken to a new world and some stuff happens there. One plot being about an arranged marriage, and the other with them trying to get back home. They both have different focus in the movie, and it could have easily just been 2 TV specials, because that's the vibe I got while watching it. They're not bad specials, but I just wish I got more out of it than I actually did. The world did give me Adventure Time vibes, though.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
That Christmas is decent. Made by Locksmith Animation, the studio behind Ron's Gone Wrong. The comedy just wasn't really there this time around. I still want more great things from this studio, and I hope for more. And looks like we will get more. But honestly, this just didn't do too much for me. I didn't understand the story all that well, but I did like the beginning with the play and think the animation is good. I'll just take other Christmas movies over this one, like Arthur Christmas, for example. But it's still decent and still watchable. I had a decent enough time with it. Yeah, I don't have much to say for this one. Sorry, guys. The newest LEGO movie, being a biopic film, Piece by Piece, was a good movie. Biopics aren't usually my thing, but the LEGO part of it at least made me interested in checking out what this was. The content was still entertaining, and it's a different kind of animated movie. The biopic is about Pharrell Williams and how music became a part of his life. He's the guy that does the music for the Despicable Me movies. There isn't really a plot or overarching narrative. It's as cut and dry as it sounds. A LEGO biopic about music. I'll give points for it being unique, though.
Piece by piece. Piece by piece. Piece by piece. That's right, I saw Piece by Piece, the LEGO Pharrell Williams biopic documentary. Now, I'm a pretty big fan of Pharrell Williams' discography, particularly NERD in like the 2000s and 2010s. And I'm also a pretty big fan of LEGO. So when this got announced back in 2023, I was like, holy smokes, this is a dream come true, seeing these two things that I love just being merged into one movie. Because I love movies. So it's really three things that I love being merged into one. But yeah, you know, I walked into the theater and then maybe off Fly or Die started playing during that opening sequence, and I just got full body chills. So I can't believe I'm even looking at this right now. It's insane. Now, I hate biopics. So I was honestly happy to see that this kind of took a half documentary approach, and it also had that unique animation to bring it all together. This movie flopped at the box office, and it's honestly no surprise. You kind of have to wonder who the audience is. In reality, the audience is just Pharrell's kids. He just, you know, put a bunch of money into it for his kids, and he could do that because he's like a cajillionaire. But it was still a very fun time watching it. You know, hearing all the songs that I liked, the fact that they actually committed to the LEGO animation, because I really thought they were going to switch to live action at a certain point, but they just stuck it all the way through. And this was directed by Morgan Neville, who did Won't You Be My Neighbor back in 2018, and he brought that documentary style over. So yeah, even though I don't like biopics, I still enjoy this movie just because it was an amalgamation of a bunch of things that I love. My only major nitpick complaint is that there's not really much conflict in this movie. There's these nameless, faceless CEO, studio exec types that kind of mess things up for Pharrell for like 6 minutes or so, and then everything's back to being fine. When I feel like there was a lot of room to kind of get into like how things might have gotten messed up for him here and there. But I mean, you know, it was still it was a kids movie nonetheless, and it got into some more interesting themes. Like, it was pretty interesting seeing Lego Minions in one scene and then Lego Black Lives Matter like 30 seconds later. But overall, great movie. I would give it an
You don't stop.
I think the Garfield movie gets way too much hate online. Look, I didn't hate it. It's not an amazing movie by all means, but it's entertaining and I liked it enough. The movie follows Garfield having daddy issues and trying to make amends with his dad, Vic, by helping him pay for his debt to an evil cat he used to work with back in the day. A movie about the relationship between a father and son quickly turns into a heist movie, and honestly, it made it more fun for me, is what I'm trying to say. I do wish the villain got more screen time and the story is a little predictable. It was still good enough, though. I said a lot in my review for it, so go watch that if you want to hear more of my thoughts.
Don't you give me a loving passion.
I was honestly a bit disappointed watching Overlord: The Sacred Kingdom. I love the Overlord anime, and it has great characters and a great premise. I went into it looking forward to seeing all my favorite characters from the anime, and unfortunately, I didn't get that. Instead, we follow a new cast who we don't really know anything about. A demon attacks the Sacred Kingdom, and the humans have to call on Ainz to help. Ainz is in the movie, but he's not the main focus of the film, which sucks. Albedo is also only in it for not that long, and she's my favorite character. Shaltir and the elf twins are also nowhere to be seen. The goblin guy is here, but all three of those characters get sidelined for characters I won't remember by the end of the film. The action was good though, at least, like Overlord usually is. I guess the new characters aren't as distracting as it was in Season 2, when the main cast hardly showed up, but also, in Season 4, which this is supposed to take place in the middle of, by the way, the cast of Overlord was still present and played an active role in the story. Ainz is only here to protect the Sacred Kingdom, and that's it. The show definitely is better than this movie. I'm not going to pretend I hate this movie. I don't. I still like the story and the animation, but this is definitely one of Overlord's lowest points. And even then, it's not that low. So yeah, still a decent movie, but not what I wanted from an Overlord film. Big City Greens is a really good slice-of-life show. From what I've watched of it, I intend to binge it all someday. The characters are funny, every episode gets a laugh, and it has a memorable cast of characters. The movie starts with the Greens going on their yearly family vacation, with Bill taking Cricket and Tilly, alongside Alice, on a road trip they went on the year before. However, Cricket doesn't like this, and things take a turn when the Greens are offered to take a trip in space. Cricket, without hesitation, accepts behind the family's back, and Bill gets upset. The film focuses on the relationship between Cricket and Bill and how they don't see eye to eye to things, which of course everything that happens in a dynamic like this in movies happens in this film. We also have a plot about Nancy going to the scientist who sent them into space and confronting her about her family being in danger. The reason she sent the Greens to space was to grow crops is because, you know, she has a grudge against her kindergarten teacher who laughed at this idea. I know, a petty motivation, but it makes it funny. The movie does well with comedy and has an entertaining enough plot, but what are my issues with it? Well, the movie is a musical and all the songs are serviceable, but none of them grabbed me except for the opening song. Also, while the animation is the best looking in the show, it also just looks like the show without much of a change to the animation. I couldn't notice a difference, at least. It's still a good movie. I don't want to rip on it too much, since the new character who's training the Greens in space is entertaining, and her song was also good. It does enough for a movie based on a cartoon, and I liked it okay. I guess I just wanted more from this adventure, since they introduce an asteroid hitting Earth like as a third act conflict, but if the plot was them trying to stop an asteroid already, then it would have been fine. The conflict between Cricket and Bill is good, though. It's what I expected out of a Big City Greens movie, but I also feel like Bill is a bit too mean to Cricket. Sure, Cricket always fucks up somehow in the show, but I feel he went a bit too far here and made him a little unlikable, especially because even if Cricket got them into this mess they're in now, he didn't mean to hurt anyone. So yeah, that's the Big City Greens movie. Make of this of what you will. I've never watched My Hero Academia. This movie was my first introduction to the show, and I had a great time watching it. The action and story were great, and the animation during the fight scenes was awesome. Deku is up against a villain who, to my understanding, was created for this movie, who wants to be the new symbol and take over the world and school Deku got his powers from. The plot kept me entertained for the whole runtime, and had a fun time in that regard. But I got a couple issues. The movie felt really cluttered since there's a lot of characters in it, but that's probably normal for My Hero Academia, so it's definitely a me thing. And there's way too many villains in the movie that feel unnecessary, since most of them only have 1 to 2 scenes total. Also, there's a lot of points in the movie where it feels like it's about to wrap up, but then it just keeps going, and it's a bit of a problem for me. I know I just complained about the villains, but the main one had a lot of charisma and was fun to watch. I watched this without knowing really anything about MHA and was pleasantly surprised with the results. Had a lot of fun watching this one for sure. Bones usually cooks with their animation, and a lot of their old animation still holds up, like Soul Eater, Mob Psycho, and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and they certainly cooked with this one.
Crashing through the crowded halls, dodging girls like ping pong balls just to reach the bathroom on.
Without a doubt, This is the best Loud House movie we've gotten. I liked the Netflix one, and you know my thoughts on the Casa Grande's movie. This is the Loud House movie that feels the most like a Loud House movie. Lincoln uncovers a secret spy plot while the Louds are on vacation, wanting to go on an adventure with his grandma, who used to be a spy. I don't watch the Loud House religiously anymore, like I used to back when it first came out, so I'm not caught up on the lore for the show. I've heard things about newer Loud House episodes, so I just don't bother with them in general. However, this movie was pretty good and was a lot of fun beginning to end. There is a twist villain in this too, that's honestly predictable, but it made the movie much more insane and off the walls, and I like that. I was surprised at how much I was enjoying myself with this. While they are doing the vacation plot again, this one fits better with the Loud House in my opinion. Loud House will definitely enjoy this one. Loud House fans will definitely enjoy this one, not the Loud House themselves. I am gonna keep that in this segment because that's funny. I don't know if any outsiders who would like this movie. I'm just not sure on that, how to commentate on that, but for someone who hasn't watched the Loud House since season 3, only watching the movies that came out after that, I think you'll have a good time. Look, I'm going to just rank all 3 of them together because they're basically one movie rolled into one. I enjoyed all 3 parts. It is a big DC crossover event, and I haven't really seen much of the DC animation universe, or many DC animated movies in general. I've seen both the Justice League of Super Pets and Teen Titans Go movies, and that's really all I have experience with DC aside from the live-action films. The films are about the entire DC cast working together to stop the Anti-Monitor from destroying all universes. It knows what it is and doesn't try to go beyond that. I've seen mixed reception in this universe in general, but I had fun with these movies. I don't know how they connect on a grander scale, but I've seen a lot of mixed things about this trilogy. I also enjoyed the other Bunny Girl movie this year. Rascal does not dream of a knapsack kid more than Sister venturing out. This continues the previous movie and also elevates everything from it. Sakura becoming invisible was a great twist to the movie, believing he has a new puberty syndrome. We also find out his mom is doing better at the hospital and throughout the film has dreams of a young Mai, kind of like how the first movie in my opinion was Mai's movie, and the second movie was Kaide's movie. This is 100% Sakura's movie, as the focus is on him for most of it. Are both of these films better than the first movie in the first season? Not at all. The first movie had real stakes, and Mai died at some point during that movie. It's a short movie like the last one, so naturally this is a shorter section, but I did enjoy it. However, my opinion is still that these films could have been one short season combined. These really don't justify being movies in my opinion, especially the one that came before. But it was Bunny Girl on the big screen, so I'll take it. Rascal Does Not Dream of a Dreaming Girl is the only one that justifies being a movie, though. But nonetheless, I had a great time watching. Just like the Justice League movies, the Bocchi the Rock movies that came out this year are just a film compilation of the show. Granted, it's Bocchi the Rock and I love the anime, but also there was really no purpose for these movies to exist in general. I had fun watching all my favorite moments on the big screen, and cannot wait for Season 2 next year, but also, why not just make the movie Anime OG or a canon sequel, and not 2 recap films?
Are ya ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
I can't hear you!
Kensuke's Kingdom has beautiful animation and a really good story. We follow Michael, who always gets in trouble and wanting to explore on his own. He gets stranded on an island one day while out in the sea. He teams up with an old man who's lived there since World War II, and join together to stop dangerous forces from reaching the island. The voice acting, animation, and just about everything is really good, so what lands it here? Well, I didn't get as into it as others did, but I still liked it. Yeah, that's all I have to say for it, but I enjoy the characters and story quite well. The first 20 minutes was honestly the best part for me. Okay, now for real. That's all I have for this segment. I really enjoyed Flow, but it's honestly a film I wanted to like more. I know, this is probably going to be a controversial statement, but I think this is just a matter of me setting way too high of expectations for it, more than anything else. It's just not as good as everyone says it is, in my opinion, and don't get me wrong, it's still a really good movie. I appreciate it being another movie with no dialogue, and the animation is also beautiful and unique. So, don't kill me. However, there were some scenes I was confused by and felt I could have used some dialogue in some areas, but I understood most of what was going on. It's really just about animals trying to survive a flood in the forest. Flow also makes you feel like you're one of the animals along for the ride, and while it doesn't need dialogue, I still am of the belief there could have been some sprinkled somewhere to better convey the story being told. I am happy, though, that it got 2 Oscar nominations, a rarity for animated movies. But hopefully this is the start of the Oscars respecting animated films again. It did win one of those said nominations, the Best Animated Feature Award, and just like The Boy and the Heron last year, let me give my take on this one. It's cool that the past 3 years we got winners outside what we're used to seeing at the Oscars. The Oscars are hopefully starting to respect animation more and more, and I hope that trend continues. That being said, I would have preferred if any of the other animated movies won. Don't get me wrong, all 5 of the nominees were solid choices, just like last year, but Flow was honestly my least favorite of the 5. I mean, no shit, you haven't seen me talk about the other ones yet. But even then, Flow is still a good movie.
Hey guys, I'm Isaac Carthy, and welcome back to me appearing in Officer Midnight Chopper's animated movie ranking. And out of all the animated movies that came out last year, Flow is without a doubt one of the most fascinating. Who would have expected this small indie project from Latvia that was animated entirely in Blender to win Best Animated Feature at the Oscars? I know I certainly didn't, and yet I can't help but admire Flow for how it was able to defy all expectations and prove that animation can be taken seriously in the mainstream, especially as indie animation continues to rise. I also admire how on top of all that, Flow is a really good movie. It's essentially a cross between Breath of the Wild and a nature documentary centering around a small group of animals traveling on a boat with absolutely zero dialogue. But despite that lack of dialogue, the characters all feel distinct in their personalities and development, especially thanks to the great animation. Again, this was all made on an open source software with a budget of about $4 million, and it somehow manages to look better than a lot of more mainstream animated movies from major studios. I don't know what else I have to say. Flow is just a really good movie. I still think The Wild Robot and Memoir of a Snail were better overall, but I'm glad I was able to check this one out. And you should too if you haven't already. Alright, let's get back to the ranking now.
DreamWorks dropped a movie on Netflix this year, and I enjoyed it. Orion in the Dark is a story about a boy afraid of the dark, where the dark takes Orion on a journey to have him let go of his fear of the dark, showing that it's not at all bad. Orion is afraid of everything, however, and the dark tries his hardest to get through to him. But one thing I neglected to mention in this movie was its message. The movie's lesson isn't to face your fears, it's to learn how to live with them. It's creative in that regard, as well as all the nighttime entities. I couldn't stop laughing when Insomnia appeared on the screen. Honestly, I wish I saw this in theaters because the animation is unique, especially the art style for the humans like Orion and his parents. We also sometimes cut to Orion as an adult telling his daughter the story to help her fear the dark, which is clever. It's an imaginative and a fun movie, and that's really all it needed to be to satisfy me. Dude, this should have been on the big screen. Ultraman Rising was robbed of being in theaters. Just look at the damn thing. Its animation style reminds me of Spider-Verse, and everything about the movie was really solid too. I don't really know much about Ultraman, to be honest with you, but I know someone who is really into it. This was a good introduction to the franchise. The animation was chef's kiss, as I said before. Felt the pacing was a little off at times, which is why it ranks here, but I enjoyed its story and characters for sure. I saw Haikyuu the Dumpster Battle in theaters while I was in California for a convention called Off-Kai Expo. And it hasn't started yet, as I recorded this video. In fact, it's going to be in a week. However, me and my buddies are gonna go again, and we're planning to watch Elio in the theaters that weekend. Anyway, me and my buddies went to watch Haikyuu after the con ended, and we all had a great time. My friends who had never seen Haikyuu said it was fun too. This movie answered the question of how to make volleyball fun, and it is fun in the TV show, but the animation in this one made everything so bouncy, and I love the elaborate shots the movie did for the volleyball games. I got my friends hyped up for the sequel, and I hope that happens when Offkai happens again. And, well, of course, when the sequel hits theaters in America, because I would love to experience it again with the same people. Haikyuu in general is a fun anime, and this was definitely the most I've been entertained watching the show. The post-credits scene had us laughing when the one dude who confronted Shoyo because of the way he looked. Now this is a movie that earned my respect for doing something so ballsy. Mars Express has really good animation. It's about these detectives trying to locate a hacker and robots threatening to take over. It's a sci-fi movie that isn't afraid to show that it is. And the thing it does that's ballsy is it kills off its main character, which shocked me. It's super well animated, and every shot had me more and more into the film. There were some confusing elements, but overall, I had a great time watching. If this is why the animation for Blue Lock Season 2 was bad, then it was worth it for this movie. We follow Nagi and his story of how he got into soccer in the first place. This movie made him my favorite character in the entirety of Blue Lock. The soundtrack was amazing, and the character arcs are great. It's kind of like Transformers 1 in the sense of it shows how Nagi and Ryo became rivals and how they met, which translates well into the series and gives them more depth I didn't know they needed. Nagi kind of reminded me of me in the movie from back then, which is why I appreciate this movie more. And who knows, you could say he's like me even now. But this was a great spin-off to an already good series. The animation definitely peaks with the soccer scenes, but I also enjoyed a lot of the scenes where they weren't playing soccer, as it gave more depth to everything going on in the movie.
In Paris, France, if you should stray down by the Place du Marché, you'll meet...
France made an animated movie called Chicken for Linda, and it's very charming and likable. Its soundtrack and art style are pleasant as we follow Paulette, who feels bad that she punished her daughter, Linda, too cruelly. So she sets out to find the ingredients for a chicken Linda wants to make up for what happened. It's a movie all about daughter and mother bonds and does great in that regard. It's not the best film you'll ever watch, but it's a cozy watch. It makes for a good sick watch. I think we should let France cook with animated movies more often, guys. They've shown their potential here alone. I have not seen a single episode of the Monogatari franchise, though I did know going in that this is a compilation of the Kizu movies put together for one film. Honestly, it works in that regard, and the animation is eye candy to me. I loved this film beginning to end. It told a story with a little dialogue and only visuals. Like, the visuals spoke more than any of the dialogue did in this movie. I don't know why they did this movie so well. However, I will acknowledge that I was told that they skipped over stuff that was important, so maybe I would have liked it less if I watched the original trilogy. But either way, this was very much a good time. I didn't think I'd be praising this movie much after watching it, but it was fantastic, man. I wish I had more to say, but I think I said it all perfectly. This movie is better than Curse of the Were-Rabbit. I don't make the rules. Aardman is back with another movie that I watched before it officially hit the USA, so I can work on this video faster. I watched it with my friend Bandit, and while watching the movie, the plot actually happened to my PC. Anyways, the movie follows Wallace as he creates a new invention called the Gnome Bot that ends up turning on him when an old enemy, Feathers McGraw, broke out of jail and turned them against Wallace and causes problems for his daily life, framing him for a crime he didn't do. The movie makes fun of AI and doesn't do it in a way that's direct, but subtle. It's hilarious and fun ride for the entire runtime, and there's never a dull moment in the film. They do some of the typical animated movie stuff, but I had a lot of fun watching this one. It also recontextualizes another Wallace and Gromit short where McGraw stole the diamond, and while McGraw is a mute character, you can tell what he feels and what his motives are. The best parts of the movie is when McGraw fucked with Wallace. which is the plot of the film, but every scene and Wallace's oblivious reactions toward the whole thing makes it a fun time for anyone watching. This was the funniest movie I've watched in 2024. Transformers 1 tells the story of how Optimus Prime and Megatron became rivals in the first place. It's a story of corruption and betrayal, and all the jokes pretty much landed, but it surprisingly has a lot of darker moments than you'd expect. Sometimes while watching, I questioned if this film really was made for kids, because goddamn, this one earned its PG rating for sure, unlike a lot of other animated movies that have been coming out. The jokes were all hilarious and definitely not how the marketing for the film portrayed them as. During their journey, they discover their leader, Sentinel Prime, is not who he actually seems to be, and they have to expose his fucked up plan to the rest of the city. Kinda a predictable twist villain, to be honest, but it didn't make the twist bad. But the action, the animation, the characters, everything was incredible. I didn't like the designs of the Transformers still, but literally everything else compensated for that one minor flaw. And this is coming from someone who's never seen a single Transformers movie. Minus this one, of course.
Transformers 1 dives into the backstory of Orion and D-16, whom of which are Optimus Prime and Megatron, their friendship, and after exposing the corruption inflicted on the citizens of Lacon by their leader Sentinel, how their friendship crumbled due to differing opinions on how to handle his fate. I've always loved backstories, and finding out how the Decepticons and Autobots formed helped me understand and formulate proper opinions on some of the characters, notably Megatron. I considered his crash out valid. After all, him, his home, and his idol were all living under a lie for centuries. Overall, it's a great watch. I don't really have much to say about it. It serves as a lore of the Transformers, introduces notable characters, and serves as an explanation to why and how the Autobots and Decepticons form.
My Oni Girl is a simple movie, but it takes advantage of its simple premise and really delivers on it. The story follows Hiragi, a timid high schooler who has trouble connecting with others, and Mugi, an Oni, which means demon, girl, on a quest to find her mother. Their paths cross when Mugi enters Hiragi's life, setting them off on an adventure through the human world. The film delves into themes of friendship, personal growth, and the importance of expressing one's feelings. I was engaged the entire runtime and entertained by these characters. The movie really was robbed of being on the big screen because it has some gorgeous animation, as well as hands down some of the best CGI shots I've seen in an anime. It's on Netflix, so you have no reason to not check this one out. We've now entered my top 10 for 2024. Thank you for sticking around this long in the video. It has, I know. It's been a really, really long video. The last two rankings had the Pixar movie at number 10, but not this time. The Imaginary follows the world of imaginaries in which Amanda, who has an imaginary friend named Roger, loves to play and go on adventures, much to the dismay of her mother. One day, Amanda gets into an accident which puts Roger at risk of being forgotten, and as an imaginary friend, if you're forgotten, then it's over for you. Roger comes across a whole world of imaginaries and meets Emily, who helps Roger get back home and prevents Amanda from forgetting him, all while they're on the run from Mr. Bunting. Mr. Bunting is a really scary guy who wants to eat imaginaries to keep himself alive. He's like a horror movie villain, in my opinion, stuck inside of an animated movie. Did I mention the animation is also really pretty? It sucks that this one went to Netflix jail too, but this movie was so much fun, and I loved everything about it. Only thing holding it back from going higher up is that I felt the story dragged at parts, but even then, it was a really fun time, and I'm happy this made it to the top 10. Probably the most uncomfortable animated movie I've watched not just this year, but just in general. Memoir of a Snail is a near perfect movie about life and the meaning of it. Grace and Gilbert were siblings who were separated and thrown into different homes when they were kids. Grace has a passion for stop-motion animation, and we watch her grow up throughout the movie, hoping to one day see Gilbert again, who's thrown into a home that's cultish. The reason they were thrown into different homes is by Child Protective Services because their parents died. Both Grace and Gilbert meet very bad people, and each scene gets more uncomfortable than the last. But it's so beautifully shot, too, and I couldn't help but cry at this movie. I was quivering so much, and it made my heart race. It's both funny and emotional. I'm also going to take the time and say I'm glad we have another adult animated movie here, and one that's not a comedy for once. It's kinda refreshing. This is very much a drama in every sense of the word, and pulls your heartstrings as much as it can. The way I describe this movie makes it seem like it's really good, and it is. So, what's wrong with it? Well, the ending feels like a cop-out in my opinion. Like, this is a really dark movie, but it goes for a happy ending. You'd have to watch to see what I mean, because I really don't want to ruin the ending for you, or turn you away from watching this. So I won't describe any of the uncomfortable bits. Just go watch it.
A memoir of a snail review. The first thing I gotta do is take a piss. So I'm gonna do that right now. Memoir of a Snail was an absolute masterpiece. I loved this one. I'm going to try being as brief as possible, knowing I'd like this review to be spoiler-free, nothing past the premise and themes. Memoir of a Snail is mostly moved by narration, which happens to be a tool I love a lot when used to advance a story in film. Memoir of a Snail is a fascinating recount of a journey told by our main character Grace, played by the talented, wonderful Sarah Snook. God, I love her. As she recounts her memories and continuation of life with her buddy snail Sylvia. The film includes an astounding score that I absolutely love, that brings you sorrow, sadness, happiness, and most importantly, hope. Yeah, I mean, it's stunning. Nothing short of amazing. Although Marion Max is the best film by Adam Elliott because Philip Seymour Hoffman. Yeah, Memoir of a Snail. Go check this one out if you haven't. It's a wonderful feature and my favorite animated one of 2024. Thank you very much.
Honestly, I think this movie has been the one I've been the most excited to talk about on this list. This absolutely should have been my #1 pick for Best Animated Movie of 2024. And Best Movie of 2024 by that extension. And I am mad none of you saw it. Surely this didn't come out in the USA before another animated movie, and only for a one-day release, right? Oh, wait. That's exactly what happened. Trapezium dives deep into an industry I know so much about. The idol industry. Well, I only know about it because of VTubers, since both are pretty similar, but still, it takes the piss out of the industry and displays all the positive and negative attributes perfectly. It's like if Love Live and Oshinoko had a baby. The movie starts all positive, with our main characters getting all excited to be idols, with our lead, Azuma, believing she has to follow the rules of all idols to be a success in the business. She drags her friends into the industry, while they also have to go to school and pursuing their idol activities while they're under contracts. However, I'm happy the film made it all like that in the beginning, because that build-up... Oh, that build-up. Because it ends up being an emotionally manipulative movie. The cracks really start showing when they actually start being idols, and the 3 other girls want to quit because of the stress and demand they have. Azuma goes through a similar character arc I had in real life, which made it feel like it was taking shots at me if I was still how I was in 2023. It's definitely a self-reflection movie for me, and I even broke down crying for 20 minutes straight while watching. The second half of the movie, when things do go wrong, is when it truly is at its best, and I love the lesson it goes for. Azuma does become selfish throughout the movie when her friends want to quit, and at the end she does realize her mistakes and ends up quitting her company, but also, getting out of that interest wasn't the answer. I won't tell you what the answer is, but there is a compromise with everything the film built up, and it's a satisfying one for every character we followed in the movie. What makes it all the more delicious is that this was written by a former idol, which makes it all the more amazing. The only gripe, and it's so small, that I have with this movie is it just didn't do enough with what it's criticizing. It went for the surface level criticism, sure, but I think it just needed a bit more, and it would have been a masterpiece, and easily my favorite movie of 2024. I saw myself a lot in Azuma, and do I see that as a bad thing? Depends on how you interpret the movie, but it's something I'd recommend you watch, especially if you're as deep into this rabbit hole as I am. It goes without saying that the Sonic movie franchise is going to get better with each and every installment. With the last one introducing both Tails and Knuckles, we unsurprisingly have Shadow in the mix this time around. What's Sonic's adventure in the third installment this time? Shadow, a new alien, starts causing trouble in Tokyo, and Team Sonic is called to deal with him, and also has to team up with Eggman to save the world. The comedy of the movie is at its best compared to the other movies. I laughed consistently here, and the action, man oh man the action, some of the best stuff in a Sonic movie, especially those last 40 minutes of the film. Gerald is also really funny, Eggman's grandpa, and he is also played by Jim Carrey. Still trying to wrap my head around how they managed to achieve that. I don't think I've seen anything like that in a movie. The animation of the Sonic characters is unsurprisingly really good, not much to say there, but from the angles the movie shows and the action, that's where the character animation truly shines, especially in the fights between Sonic and Shadow. The acting and voice acting is always as great as always. Keanu Reeves as Shadow really killed it here. He was a perfect choice for the role, and can't imagine anyone else playing this character. The other characters like Ben Schwartz as Sonic, Jim Carrey as Eggman, you know the drill. Top-notch voice acting here, and acting for that matter. The soundtrack is also killer in every way possible. Don't know what to say. Especially during the action sequences, it gets you really hyped up. There wasn't really a message for the movie, but it does highlight themes of teamwork, as shown when Sonic and his team start becoming dysfunctional throughout the film, with Sonic being ahead of the others all the time. It all pays off during the heist scenes inside Gun headquarters, and it's a nice touch. Even Tom and Maddie join in for the heist, and all the characters get involved in some way, which also leads to Gerald's plan in the movie to avenge the death of his daughter. If you've played Sonic Adventure 2, you'd know this is an adaptation of that game. I don't really have any complaints for this movie and can't compare it to anything I've seen. I'd just say if you liked the first two Sonic movies and had a great time with those, go see this one. But even if you didn't, I'd still say go see this movie. It's getting tons of praise by critics and audiences. Unlike Mufasa. This was the #1 movie in America when it came out, and the box office returns show that. And even then, it'll be #1 in my heart. Sonic fans will love it, and people who haven't played Sonic games will eat this up. It's a fun time, beginning to end. It wouldn't shock me if this ended up my #1, but Spy X Family Code White was probably my most anticipated movie of 2024. It's a standalone adventure, but newcomers can come and watch this without knowing anything about the source material, because it's laid out for them here what the characters are and how they are in the show. I still say check out the show, but for this movie, you don't need to. Anya and her family are on a mission to win a school competition by making the principal's favorite dish, and so they set out on vacation to go get the ingredients behind it all, while there's a colonel who wants to disrupt the peace between the two nations, Westalius and Ostonia, by getting the microfilm. This guy does some messed up stuff throughout the movie, but it's a really funny movie beginning to end. I even dressed up like Lloyd for the movie, and the action sequences were fun to watch. I will watch anything the Forgers do because I know it will end up being entertaining in some way, and that's because these characters are so much fun.
How they run to fetch their sticks. Sure, call me
Oh boy, inanimate insanity. I'm very attached to this show and the characters probably more than any other object show. When a movie was announced shortly before its release, even if it's just 3 episodes of the show put together, the advertising still portrayed it as a movie, and I did see it in theaters, so I'm including it here. Props to the crew for making the show silly and fun at first, then turning it into something really serious. My goat Knife made it to the finale. He didn't win, but he made it. In fact, he didn't get a happy ending. This time through, though, we follow MePhone 4 as his show's finale is disrupted by his creator, Steve Cobbs, who's looking to get MePhone back by killing his contestants. And it's up to the finalists, Knife and Suitcase, to defeat him for their final challenge. The movie has a lot of twists and surprises, and some theories of mine were proven true. It's quotable, and every scene advances the story in some way. I haven't seen an object show do something on this magnitude, and it gets credit for that already. Cobbs' villain song is a bop, and so is the finale song. Karma Waits also hit all the right notes. I could talk so much about this movie, but I won't, as I plan to do a full analysis of Inanimate Insanity in all 3 seasons, plus this movie, so be on the lookout for that. It'll probably be one of my longest videos yet. I adored Look Back. This movie is everything The Concierge failed to do in such a short runtime, and I love it. Hell, this had a shorter runtime than The Concierge, so it's even more embarrassing for that movie, in my opinion. We follow Fujino and Kiyomoto, which, by the way, if you combine both their names, forms Fujimoto's name. He's the guy that created Chainsaw Man, so I was really excited to check this movie out. It's a coming-of-age story about 2 girls aspiring to be manga artists. Though at first, Fujino quits being a manga artist and at the beginning for getting ridiculed for drawing, but goes back to this hobby once she meets Kiyomoto, who's a fan of her work. The two create several one-shot mangas in high school and eventually get offered to work at Shonen Jump to create a serialized series. This film does do the third act breakup, which I thought would annoy me, but no, it's necessary to the story, and I actually cried during it, and cried even more when the film took a turn I didn't see coming at all. I won't say what happens, even though I did say I'd go into spoilers for these movies. Let's just say it depicts a real-life event that happened at the KyoAni studio. That should give you an idea of what happens, and there's a core message tying the entire film together. To not let bad things get you to stop doing what you love, and to learn to live with bad events going on in your life. It was beautiful, and I adored everything this film had to offer. Every minute gave me something new to appreciate about the film. I guess you can say, every now and then, I'll look back on this film and watch it from beginning to end. The Wild Robot was such a fucking good movie. When I saw the trailer for this one, I was hyped right off the bat from the animation style alone, and that it's by people who brought How to Train Your Dragon to life. It's all about survival and motherhood, where Roz the robot gets stranded after her company accidentally left her behind. She goes on the island and learns how things work, while mothering a bird named Brightbill with the help of Fink the Fox. She learns to adapt and becomes more human as a result of her time on the island, and while her company is trying to retrieve her, first off, the animation is spectacular. It looks like the Puss in Boots 2 art style, and I appreciate it so much. I love this art style and hope DreamWorks continues to experiment with this type of art style for a long time to come. The film gets really brutal, whereas in the beginning of the movie, all the animals are bullying Roz for the most part, and despite all that, Roz doesn't take any offense to it, even when they call her a monster. She continues to protect the island, and over time, learns how things manage on the island. Fink the Fox is without a doubt my fave character in this film, because of how he acts, and even though he's kinda smug at the beginning, he ends up helping Roz throughout the movie, raising the bird. I'm not gonna lie, this movie doesn't feel like DreamWorks made it. It's so unique compared to every single one of their movies, and I love it for that. DreamWorks seems to be on a roll for a little while with this. Dogman, The Bad Guys 2, Shrek 5, who knows? I'm not gonna be one of those people who say DreamWorks is back since being inconsistent is what they're practically known for, but I am excited for a lot of their upcoming projects. Even if this was a bad movie, I would have said go watch it because of its animation. It's that amazing. I was invested in the story from the first frame to the very last. I didn't want to stop watching this amazing film. I could watch this world go on forever, and I would be happy with that. DreamWorks did announce a sequel, so it sounds like we'll get more of this hopefully with the same animation. It also got 3 Oscar nominations, which had my jaw hit the floor. So again, hopefully we get more of this. Please? Oscars? Inside Out was one of the few movies from Disney or Pixar I would be like, alright, yeah, a sequel could work to this one. and they hit the nail on the head for a sequel to one of the best Pixar movies ever created. We have some new emotions coming in, like anxiety, and she wants to control everything behind Riley's life, and it depicts anxiety flawlessly. It gets every character right, including the main cast and the new emotions that are here. And honestly, I prefer this one over the original, because this one hit closer to home for me. I saw the original in theaters when I was 12 years old, and I still adore the first movie and what it accomplished. This one accomplishes what the first movie did, and more. We went through new sections of the mind, and I was, entertained the entire runtime. I saw it in theaters 3 times, so that's how you know I adored this one. If you want more, I'll show my review for it again, because I think now I've said everything I want to say about it. I'll probably go into spoilers more whenever I do a Pixar ranking, which, yes, that is planned for the near future, as well as a Ghibli ranking. But yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, go give this one a watch. And I bet you're wondering, since I've praised Inside Out 2 that much and think that highly of it, what could possibly be number 1? Well, you're about to find out.
What's up, guys? I am talking about Inside Out 2. Now, me personally, I saw the first Inside Out probably like 70 times, because when I went on a cruise once, that's all they played on the TV, and I really liked it. And Inside Out 2 was the only movie from Pixar that I was excited for, which, you know, that says a lot about me, because you know I hate Pixar. So, going in, instantly knew it was going to be different, and it was good. It was really good. I like everything about it. Its depiction of anxiety, very accurate. And I know everyone, let's depict anxiety in an animated movie. It's gonna, everyone says that, but no, Inside Out 2 did it best. It was very touching. It resonated with me very well. So for that reason, I like it very much. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But what it did was very touching.
We've talked about a lot of great movies in these past few sections, at least. A lot of really, really outstanding animated movies that really set apart from the roughness of 2024. But holy shit, I didn't expect this one to be my favorite movie of the year. But good God, it is one of the best movies of the entire decade. Robot Dreams is a story all about moving on. When a dog buys a new robot to be his friend, the robot gets stuck on the beach, and it's up to the dog to get him back, with trouble along the way. We follow both characters as they try to reunite with one another. And guess what else? This movie has no dialogue in it whatsoever, and you can follow the story still without it, and it makes for some great emotional manipulation. This movie does something I haven't seen any animated movie do. It's sad, but it's also bittersweet. The dog and the robot find new lives and they don't find each other in the end. This is without a doubt my therapy movie, and helps me understand when to move on in life from things. Something I admittedly sometimes have trouble doing, but it got me to understand a lot. Robot Dreams is a perfect movie everyone should see. Its animation is spectacular, and movies about robots in general never seem to fail. Ron's Gone Wrong, The Iron Giant, Big Hero 6, WALL-E, The Wild Robot, and Transformers 1 are all really good animated movies featuring robots. There is so much to dissect about Robot Dreams, and I'm honestly kinda glad it didn't go for the ending of the dog and the robot getting back together. It makes it stand on its own in that way, and I wish more people would go out and see this masterpiece. So, you've made it to the end of the video. I know, that was a really, really long video. Probably one of my longest videos ever. But that was every animated movie that came out in 2024 that I watched. I'm really sorry the video took this long to get out. I promise that next year's video will not take this long at all, and I will just lock in and make it and get it out as soon as possible. with the cameos, of course. That being said, can't wait to see you all for the 2025 ranking video. If you do want to participate in a cameo for the next one, let me know, because I'm open for it. 2025 seems to be a good year for animation, while writing this anyway. Definitely better than the rocky start of 2024, where international films mostly reigned supreme over Western animated movies in 2024. This year was definitely a pattern. To me, it felt like for every bad movie that covered something, another one came along and did that topic justice. Some examples being Trapezium and Thelma the Unicorn, as well as Transformers 1 and Mufasa. There's definitely more, but those are the ones I can think of the most. Thank you all so much for watching, and can't wait to do it all again next year. Bye everyone, and have a great day.